Hey everyone, this is Dean, and welcome to Strange But Real. Today I have an absolutely strange and odd story for you guys. I think you're going to love it. So I just want to get this out to you guys. I really appreciate those of you who are subscribing and liking my channel. Make sure you subscribe and hit that like button, guys, and let's jump into today's story. Alright, so today's story is a great one. It's a very unusual story. This should be, I think, episode number 6 for my channel. But let's jump into today's story. This one is, my name is Hannah. And my name is Hannah. I was born at home with a midwife in a small town of Winslow, Maine. I was born in June of '82 and was the only child born in that town that year. Most children were born at hospitals in the much larger neighboring town of Waterville. My parents had bought a camp and converted it into a small house. It sat down on a long dirt road on 40 acres of forested land. The entire time we lived there, the officials from the town tried to get our family to vacate, saying it was for summer residences only and emergency vehicles wouldn't be able to travel down the dirt road in the winter. They fought my parents for years, choosing to raise me, my brother, and sister in what was a beautiful natural paradise. My early years were spent communing with nature, eating food from the garden, swimming in the pond that our property bordered. There was even a small old camp by the edge of the lake where we would all spend nights in the summers. Truly magical, and to this day I thank both of my parents. And my brother and sister agree it shaped who we are in such incredible ways. Right when I turned 6 years old, everything in my life changed, and this is where it gets strange. One night, I'm tossing and turning, restless. Then I sit up straight, hearing a voice in my head saying sternly, "Hannah, come here now." I robotically get out of bed and step onto the floor, bare feet, wearing my pink and white Care Bear nightgown. Care Bears were popular children's cartoon back then. Yeah, they were. I remember when I was a kid, they were very popular. I mechanically walk, being guided out of my bedroom and down the stairs. The sensations on the soles of my feet are extremely heightened, feeling the texture of the floor change from carpet to bare wood as I reach the bottom of the stairs, turning 90 degrees to the right, then walking forward, again sensing the texture of the braided rug, to know then to turn 90 degrees to walk forward. As if someone else is guiding me, I move to the front of the house into a small room at the front entrance of the house that our family calls the mud room, where we store our shoes, boots, coats, and warm gear. Just for some context, in Maine there's something called mud season, a fifth season between winter and spring when the snow melts and clay roads become really muddy. The idea of a mud room is to help prevent everyone tracking dirt and mud into the house and with shoes and boots during the mud season. So as I enter the mud room, I see through the exterior glass on each side of the door a blinding bright light traversing diagonally, descending down from left to right, crossing the front yard. I robotically open and exit through the front door. Stepping back on the wooden deck, I walk straightly to the sharpened slant edge of the deck my dad built, sit down and put my bare feet on the grassy lawn, feeling the intense sensation of the grass on my bare feet. Everything is extremely precise with angles, rotations, and lines quite unnatural and unlike the way I would normally move about my home. Then I stand up and turn 45 degrees and walk towards the blinding light. As I reach it, a door opens downward with a few small stairs. As I take a few steps up, I feel my arms reaching down and pulling me upward. I see beings that are making themselves appear to me as if they are short, squat, and purple, like E.T. from the movie, yet somehow I knew they were simply disguising their appearance to me and what they are doing to make me feel more comfortable by using a popular character that I'm very familiar with. So she's saying basically like they presented themselves or made themselves appear to her in her head that they looked like E.T., so she would welcome them because E.T. was a very friendly alien back in the 80s from the movie E.T., so she thinks that's what they were doing. My nightgown was replaced with a surgical gown, and they put me in an operation table and start positioning my body and going into operation mode. At this point, I go out of my body and I'm floating above my body with unseen angelic beings who felt like protectors, observing to make sure everything went according to the contract I had made before my birth to go through with this. There were very specific things allowed and disallowed. The 6 or 7 beings standing over me are probing every orifice in my body, taking samples, injecting biological implants into certain locations. During the procedures, at some point, I go back into my body, open my eyes, and see a slight seafoam green alien with classic big black bug eyes over my head staring down at me intensely. I am disoriented because he is upside down. It is the same stern being who commanded me out of my home. So I quickly exit my body again as they complete their procedures. I wake up alone on the operating table with my nightgown back on my body. I walk up what seem like red carpeted stairs to an area much larger than the size of the ship was. As it appeared on my lawn, the grayish-green aliens are standing around, holding something like glass computerized tablets, pretending they don't notice me, yet I know that they see me and are using the tablets to monitor me and record data. I walk to the front of the ship on what is like a red carpeted walkway towards the front of the ship. I step up to the edge of the platform, and in front of me, all I can see is the night sky. The front of the craft is spherical. What seems to be clear, transparent material at the front of the ship when looking to the left or right. One can see where the clear material connects to the rest of the ship, but when standing on the edge of the platform looking forward, it feels as if one is floating in the night sky. I put my right hand on a sphere, my head tips back, my eyes roll back, and I merge consciousness with the ship, since one of the implants they installed in me allows me to do so. The ship has its own consciousness, so by connecting to it, I simply think of where I want it to go, and the ship brings us there. As I'm flying the craft, the beings are observing where I choose to go, to confirm that my genetics are connected to the star systems they believe them to be. I'm not sure how I get back inside my house, but I wake up sitting on the living room floor, crying, with no memory whatsoever of what had just taken place. My mom comes into the room and wraps a blanket around me, saying, "It's okay, you just had a nightmare." She comforts me and puts me back in the bed. I wake up the next day completely unaware as to what took place the night before. I would remain clueless for another 32 years until one day I accidentally hypnotized myself by sitting and meditating while listening to the beginning of my sister's QHHT session. I'm not sure what that is. In 3 minutes' time, the entire memory played back in my head like a movie. It was a good thing they had temporarily cut off my access to the memory, because I imagine it would have created a lot of issues if I tried to tell anyone what had happened, as if they would have believed me. Around that time, though, is when I noticed a small brown mark on the skin in the area of my left ovary. I knew people had something called birthmarks, so I just reasoned with myself that my body must have just developed a birthmark. When I showed it to my parents years later, they confirmed it was not on my body when I was born. A few months go by after the incident, and I start first grade. While I do very well at school, I have trouble paying attention and daydream a lot. One of the class projects are where we assign to write a book, and the teacher and school staff tell us that they will help us publish our books by typing them up and laminating the front and back covers, but we all do the writing and we get to illustrate the cover in certain pages. Without thinking about it, I say to myself, I'm going to write a book about a fun adventure with aliens, so that the other kids will know that they are real and that they don't have to be afraid of them. Even though at that time I'm still unaware of my abduction, I have already reasoned with myself that the extraterrestrials and UFOs are real, and I think to myself that it would be a fun topic. I feel confident, like it is a subject other kids might be scared of, but by writing this fun story, I can help them be at peace with the fact that our interstellar cousins and their ships are very real. And she named the book The Space Dragon. So, very interesting story out there. There's been a lot of abduction stories from people when they were young and when they're old, and people claiming that they've had implants put in them in various locations. There's actually some very interesting studies out there where they've actually found implants in people, and they weren't really able to tell what the implants were for, what they were made of necessarily, or what the purpose was. But there's been a lot of abductees who they have found implants in. Now, it's hard to say what those implants did or anything like that, but there's a lot of cases out there similar to this one where people have had implants put in them. But not sure about the whole out-of-body experience thing, if a lot of people have experienced that, and I'm not sure where she gets it from, that she had some kind of contract with them from before she was born or whatever. But it's an interesting story for sure. But that's today's story. I would love to hear from you guys. If you have an interesting story out there, whether it's ghost stories, Bigfoot stories, Dogman stories, Mothman, UFOs, aliens, whatever it is, anything strange and unusual, I would love to hear it. Doesn't have to be any one of those topics. It can be anything very strange and unusual that happened to you. And make sure you send your stories to strangebutrealstories@gmail.com. That's strangebutrealstories@gmail.com. Hopefully, I'll be reading my letters from you guys in the upcoming videos. I'm still waiting for some to come in so I can get those out to you. And I'm hoping to get a letter about from someone I know about an encounter that we had when we were young. I haven't received it yet from him, and maybe he's reluctant to send it to me, but hopefully he sends it in, because he had most of the encounter happen to him. I had some of it happen to me as well, and I witnessed some of it. So I'd love to share it with you guys, but I'm waiting for his story because most of it happened to him. That's why. And I want to get his story first, because the portion that happened to me happened after his encounter, and he was with me when I had my encounter, as well as some other friends of ours. So I don't want to share that until I get it from him. Hopefully he'll send it in. If he doesn't, then I guess I'll share it with you guys at some point and just tell you my side of the story. But I appreciate all of you who are watching this video. Make sure you email me your stories. Make sure you subscribe, hit that subscribe button, and hit the like button. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Don't forget to hit my notification bell. I'm trying to get these videos out at least 3 times a week, and we'll see you on the next video.